So the last video I made was basically me just hating for 11 minutes straight. And I thought it would be great if I were to continue on that in this video. I might take some flack for this. In fact, I might even get my IP address leaked by saying this, but I feel like it has to be said. Taylor Swift is a whore. And the reason why no one ever says that she's drenched in the ooze of promiscuity is because she masquerades behind the facade of somebody who cares about conventional dating. This bitch has had 11 relationships in 15 years, and only one of them bitches has been long term. Taylor Swift, nah, fuck that, Taylor slut.
She belongs to the streets.
I've had morning pisses that have lasted longer than some of your relationships. I be drinking mad water at night, so I be pissing hard as fuck in the morning. Anyway, I'm just saying, like, you either doing this for dick or money. It's not love. Now, let's assume for a second that it was about money. It doesn't really make her look better because now she's just a money whore. And I say this because, according to Wiki, when she dated Jake Gyllenhaal for 3 months, apparently it inspired a majority of the songs off her album Red. That album is 65 minutes. Now, I ain't listening to that shit, but that sounds like when a YouTuber makes a 6-hour-long documentary on a 1-hour movie. One of them songs better be about him hotboxing the bed covers with farts after y'all fuck, cause like there's only so much you could say about that short-ass relationship. But my point is that it's very possible she just dated these guys just so that she could write a song about the whole relationship. She's kind of like Miles and how he only be doing fucked up shit to his family members just so he can rap about it.
I remember somebody stole the tires and the brakes off my auntie car, and it was me.
Taylor walked so could run. But no matter how you look at it, Taylor Swift is either a hoe or a hoe. I would not even be going this hard on Taylor Swift if it were not for this fucking... I'm not going to be homophobic today, but I want to be. This nigga's rise to the most hated person on the internet started when he said that Taylor Swift has any album or song that is remotely better than what Kendrick Lamar has made. Helen Keller could give me a better opinion on music. And fuck the fact that she's deaf. She's just dead. Her silence would be better. I was gonna talk about other terrible things that he's mentioned, but honestly, his entire TikTok is just that bad. Like, I remember I scrolled through 3 TikToks in a row, and the first 5 words of each one of them were the word shark. Anyway, I have the unfortunate displeasure of seeing this nigga naked hairy butthole on YouTube, and yet I get videos removed for basically saying nothing at all. I've had 2 gaming videos removed for no reason, and yet this nigga could keep his hairy jungle cave of a butthole on YouTube. Matter of fact, you know those ISIS beheading videos that they used to have? Yeah, them shits don't even seem as bad anymore. That may have seemed like an extreme, but if I had 2 choices, I know which one I'd rather see by accident on YouTube at 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so I've said before that old people piss me off, and you know, usually it is because of their words, but sometimes it's like really small, subtle shit that somebody wouldn't really catch if they're not really looking. I've noticed that niggas over the age of 50 just be coughing in their hands, like children. I noticed this shit when I saw my 70-year-old poetry teacher just straight up cough into his hand, and then a few minutes later, lick his fingers in order to separate papers. Nigga, he lucky that wasn't the height of COVID, or else I'd give him something to cough about. But the thing that really pisses me off about this is that this is the same generation that really love to give niggas the firm handshake when they meet them for the first time. You know, the bone-cracking handshake that I have niggas in the ER 5 minutes later? But if they happen to cough up whatever disease they got onto their hand earlier that day and shake your hand, nigga, no amount of antibacterial soap or hand sanitizer is gonna wash that shit out your hands. I'm pretty sure old niggas are the reason why the Black Plague spread so well in Europe. I have a theory that the harder the Spanish name of a restaurant is to pronounce, the better the food. And God forbid that shit in English, nigga. What the fuck you mean you trying to eat at the Taco Bill? Bill sound like a white guy that files your taxes in upstate New York. Not a nigga who makes your quesadillas. You about to leave that place with food poisoning. But for real though, like when I was at my dorms, I used to order from this one taqueria place that the name was so complicated, I never at any given point knew what to tell people when it came to saying the name of it. I'd just say, oh, that one Mexican place that made me bust a nut. That wasn't very descriptive, but I wasn't lying. But then a few weeks ago, me and my family were in San Diego and we ate at a place called La Puerta. Now I've watched enough of that bitch Dora to know that shit means door in Spanish. I should have taken that as my first red flag. My second red flag should have been the fact that it was mostly white people working there. But this is San Diego we're talking about. Their white population is 61%. So if it wasn't mostly white people working there, I just assume the owners hate the melanin deficient. Now, before I tell y'all what the third red flag is, I feel like I should start off by saying this. My dad is somebody who likes to cook. And I've come to the conclusion that just because you like something don't mean that you should be doing it. I say this because from the ages of like 6 to 13, I remember my dad making garlic cookies. Yeah, you heard that right. It's not that he would use the squeezed out liquids of the garlic or maybe a paste or sauce version of it, and then, you know, just spread it into the dough. No, this nigga would just put whole ass garlic chunks into the cookie batter and bake that bitch. He would even have the audacity to ask people in the family if we wanted to eat some. Bro, I hated walking out my room smelling cookies in the air, being like, and then entering the kitchen just to see this conglomeration. I would have been called Child Protective Services if I knew better back then. But the third red flag for me in that restaurant was when my dad, of all people, stopped eating and just started looking at his food like he was trying to construct the most creative death threat he could think of for the chef. Only after eating a quarter of it. How do French people pronounce the word ox? You know the part of the Chris Hansen show where they're interviewing the predator? Obviously, them niggas be saying the most wild shit imaginable. But the thing that always gets me is whenever Chris Hansen asks them,
"Did you bring condoms?"
they always be saying no. And they be having like this face of relief like, haha, you thought you was gonna incriminate me with that one, didn't you? But you see, you saying that you don't have condoms actually makes you look worse. It's kind of like if your homie snitched on you that you were about to rob the bank with a pistol, and when you go to the bank and they stop you, you're like, what? I wasn't gonna rob the bank with a pistol. Whole time you got a shotgun in your backpack. Cause let's be honest here. When we watch that show, we know what these niggas came to do. We know what their intentions are. Cause essentially what you're saying is, I came here with the sole intention of passing on AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, and whatever else my balls got in store. You'd be better off just saying you got the protection on you. Actually, it wouldn't, because you're still gonna go to jail and get your ass beat. Okay, my single brain cell is smoking, so bye.